Hello, everyone. Welcome to this issue of the Reimagining Music podcast from New Harmony Line. And I am so pleased today to bring you Sydney Pratt. And I want Sydney to tell us, how do we know each other, because we have a very special connection.
He was my mentor teacher back in the fall of 2018, which feels like a lifetime ago. I had my student teaching in Iowa City. I basically worked with her in her music tech rock band one-on-one flex music classroom. So I got to see her do her curriculum and her lessons that were very, very well established. And I had never seen anything like her curriculum or her lessons. And I really fell in love with how much autonomy the kids got, how they really got to do stuff with instruments that were relevant to them. They got to work with songs that meant something to them. And I just thought I would love to utilize that at some point. It wasn't until I came to the private Catholic schools in my fifth year of teaching that I finally got to actually truly refine and utilize some of the stuff that she exposed me to. And so I'm hoping Hyperscore is another really valuable addition to what I'm already doing.
And that's very sweetly said, Sydney. I didn't prompt you to say that, but that's very sweetly said. I know that you used Hyperscore when you were with me. We used it in the music tech class and also the flex music class. It's been a long time since you were exposed to that, and it was only a little tiny bit of your student teaching. But what's inspired you today to look into adding Hyperscore into your classroom?
We have the standards that we're supposed to teach by, right? As I've been starting to incorporate my standards more, because this is my third year in the school, last year was all about making sure that I had lesson plans for every single week that I thought this is a really good foundation. And then the stuff that I love, I could hold on to and that I could refine and tweak. I'm trying to incorporate my standards more this year. I kind of noticed that most of the standards that I get to teach or most of the skills only revolve around performance or responding. They never really get to create anything. And so I thought it would be really nice to start actually incorporating these creation standards into some grade levels, just to start being able to apply these standards, which are part of the Catholic school and the statewide music standards in Nebraska. But because of other priorities and other things that I've had to focus on, I just wasn't able to know how do I actually incorporate this into what I'm doing. So Hyperscore just seems like the answer for me.
So we've had conversations over the last couple of years about how to get you started with Hyperscore. So we're going to try something fun this school year where I'm going to be following you through the school year as somebody who's new to teaching composition to students. And then you're going to give me feedback and I'm going to give you help and support. And we're going to see how this year goes with you trying to use Hyperscore for the first time. So one of the things we're going to look at is some of the materials that we have created. Last year, our executive director, June Kinoshita, decided to challenge the world to write music and then submit it to the company for Make Music Day, which was June 20th of this year. Some of them have videos associated with them, which was part of the Hyperscore challenge, but students also got to choose to just have their music play. For example, this girl had a very simple melody. Look at the really unique ways that she's done some layering. She was in fifth grade, so keep that in mind, okay? Any thoughts on that, Sydney, as a music teacher, to think that a fifth grader with no instruction on intervals just created that piece of music with a simple 4-note pattern?
This is just such a beautiful, simple example of the power of reverse pedagogy, where instead of teaching the kids about chords and intervals first, just letting them get to play and explore something and then just to stumble across it. And then because they've had the experience of accidentally finding it through the power of play and composition on their own time, they are able to learn about it that much more because then they have that, oh, well, I did that already. So now I'm never going to forget that because I've already done it.
Just think if her teacher had gone on to talk about thirds and fifths, and then she pulls up her piece and says, look, right here, she had a third, and right here, she has a fifth. I agree with you very much that I love that this is not about me teaching them something, it's about them coming up with something. So thank you so much for letting me share that piece. As a new person to Hyperscore, I've been trying to think about what are the things that you're going to need when you're ready to start. Kind of tell me a little bit about what the start of the school year is like for you, because people out there have no idea everything you're doing right now.
There's a saying that's said between teachers that if you don't get something done, especially that's administrative, so something such as ordering new supplies, getting accustomed to a new program, having your seating charts made, your expectation posters, if you do not have that stuff done by the time you have the first week of classes, it's not getting done that school year. And the reason why that is because once the kids are in front of you, you have to behavior manage, you have to lesson plan, you have to assess how well the kids have learned the skill or not. You have to enter in grades, you have meetings, you have trainings. And that's in addition to, I have a club that I do after school on Mondays and Fridays. So I have a choir club that I do. So if you are a music teacher and you're offering like an extracurricular thing, then you have that stuff in the afternoons. Or if you have private lessons that you give like I do, then your afternoons get pretty booked. And that's on top of going home, making sure you cook for yourself and take care of yourself and just general life. If you don't take care of administrative things or add new things to your toolbox near the beginning of the year, it just will not happen until the next school year, because it's a lot to juggle.
You've learned so much already in just 5 years of teaching. You mentioned specifically that you are already preparing for the Christmas concerts at your school. Pretty much all of your time is tied up right now. When do you think you would even get to consider adding anything else to your curriculum?
I have to admit, this is actually why I actually had to approach both of my principals. I was very, very relieved and happy when my principals both said, yeah, that makes sense, that you want to be able to teach the students other things like how to analyze a song, like different parts, and how to play instruments and how to find like the form of a song. And so giving that green light, that has allowed me that in the second semester is usually the time where the kids get to learn a lot more stuff that interests them and motivates them, that they have fun with. If I only have one class, anything else that's not concert prep just gets completely put to the back burner.
I'm glad that you're looking at the needs and interests of every student. And I love hearing that some of your students are not worrying about the quality of their singing voice. They're looking for the community with the people who are singing. And that's such a beautiful thing. With today's pressure of being like America's Got Talent or the singers on TikTok, it's really hard for a kid who doesn't have that kind of voice to think of themselves as a singer. And you're promoting that. I really appreciate that in your curriculum. We are looking at doing Hyperscore after you finish your concert prep, but you're starting now to think about, what do I have to do in order to get ready for that? I created these checklists, and you and I, one of the things we're going to do in this series is you're going to be my guinea pig and tell me what works and what doesn't work about the checklist and helping you to get started. The first thing you have to do is contact your district tech, because we have to be able to get emails back and forth to each other. You have to find an organization administrator, which is going to be you. You're going to be the one between the two schools that's going to administer the account. And then there's a privacy policy and parent guardian consent link. And if you have the support of your district tech, You don't have to send it out to parents and guardians, but it doesn't hurt to say, hey, we're trying this thing, look it up online and see what you think. Setting up your devices, getting a mouse, planning the dates of your experience, making sure that you have modified materials, which I make those. And if I don't have something, you let me know what you need and I'll make it for you. And then getting ready for that actual first experience. So really right now, you and I are only talking about this. And if you did, one thing a week with this preparation before you started your unit after you have the concerts, you're in great shape. And I want to show you that if you look at that and say, well, that's not very much information, I do have a version that gives you all the background and the links and how to get to everything. And that's also a resource that's available to you. In fact, I've included a lot of the visuals that I've used to teach Hyperscore in the last few years. Like, can you imagine putting this up in front of say, your third graders, and you've taught them to understand groups of 4, but they look at that Hyperscore screen and they don't have any clue. How is that groups of 4?
Yeah.
Do you think this poster is going to help them understand that there's 4 columns, and within those 4 columns, there's 4 beats? What do you think of something like this as a resource?
When I'm able to teach third graders about time signatures, that would help so much, because sometimes students just need more than one way to see something being applied. Sometimes they just need a different way of perceiving it or looking at it. And so that would be really helpful. I think it's a lot more user-friendly based on what kids like nowadays.
You could see usage for this in your classroom just as a visual, but it's also connected to the very first lesson that they're going to do, where they create a rhythm and they can say, I want line number 6. If they don't know that's a triangle, then, or that these are tritoms, then they can say a number and a column. It'll help you with your group composition lesson. Have that all set up for you in the resources on the website. Another thing that I'm trying to help you with, because you're a first-time user, is I have had 20, maybe 21 years of experience with Hyperscore. And there are some things that always happen when kids use Hyperscore for the first time. So for example, I made a list of some common errors, like they are playing their piece and they can't get that green line to play. And it's because they don't have a green window. They've written something, but they didn't make it green, but they drew with green in here. That's so common. And I talk about it in the group activity composition, but sometimes they don't know it until they need to know it. And so I have a list of things here that I have seen kids have problems with: stacking notes, using polyphony, things like how to make notes longer, shorter with the mouse pad. If they're having things not show up or their stuff disappears, that there's an undo button. So I do have some handouts for you about that. And I have a handout about why to use Hyperscore, why compose, but then I also have everything that I think you could ever need. You have every link to everything we have to offer you in this handout. And while this looks to you overwhelming in your first look at the materials, it's supposed to be a way to synopsize everything. So one of the things I'm going to ask you the next time we get together and talk is, as you're preparing, are these things useful? Are they too much? What could we do differently to help you prepare? And I also want to make sure that you and our listeners know that we have a tab on our website, newharmonyline.org, which has wonderful quotes, examples of how the program works, featured news articles, which can be subscribed to. But there's also a tab for education. And we have a number of resources inside here. You have videos to look at. You have presentations all ready to go. You have a curriculum, which you can actually use with third graders if you just modify some of the material. You and I are talking about how to find instruments for one of your schools.
I have kids that want guitars, they want ukuleles, they want the instruments that they see being played in the music that they listen to, particularly outside of school, and I'm not able to offer them that yet.
We have a lot of materials and resources for you. One of the things that you're very nicely going to do for us this year is help us to understand how we help that brand new teacher to Hyperscore. So I very much look forward to talking to you as time progresses through the school year, Sydney. And we wish you very good luck in getting ready for your concerts in December. But we want to make sure that everybody knows to come back because we'll be talking to Sydney again as she prepares for the unit.
Thank you so much for listening and for your guys' time. I am really looking forward to actually being able to do the standards that not only is about performing it or just about responding to it, but actually being able to take that knowledge of those other skills that I've been doing in the other standards and actually create their own work. I think that'll make them very excited.
That's wonderful. We hope so too. Thank you for everyone listening today. And don't forget to come back and listen to our conversations with Sydney in the future. Thank you so much.
Bye.